unemployment. That's twice as high as Britain's. Demonstrators stormed the Paris Chamber of Commerce, ransacking offices and destroying documents. It's just part of a pattern of escalating violence, as Nick Valentine reports.
France's jobless activists have been back on the streets after the Christmas break. Since early December, they've staged a series of sit-ins at unemployment offices, demanding an increase in benefits for the country's 3 million unemployed. This time around, they've also taken their grievances to the futures market. Protesters took over the main hall of the Bourse de Commerce Commodity Trading Centre and ransacked offices upstairs. Trading was unaffected by the protest. The demonstrators could not get to the futures pits. Riot police were rushed to the scene but did not enter the building, enduring instead a hail of paper and heavier items from the upper windows. 11 policemen were injured, none seriously. In the end, the protesters left of their own accord after talks with French officials and having fairly comprehensively trashed the place. France suffers from almost 12.5% unemployment. More than a third have been out of work for over a year. The demonstrators are derisive of Socialist Prime Minister Lionel Jospin and his promise of 1 billion francs, about £100 million, emergency aid to the hardest hit unemployed, saying it just isn't enough. Jospin has refused to yield to their demands for benefit increases. He's also refused to rethink his proposed 35-hour working week, which would come into effect in the year 2000. Employers' associations say that will just drive yet more jobs out of France. Unemployment is being linked to an alarming rise in violence in French city suburbs over the past few weeks. Gangs of youths have burnt cars and attacked police. Even wealthy cities like Strasbourg had their sink housing estates, like Neof, home to the deprived and the racial minorities. Last week, the local school was bombed. That too is being blamed on alienated teenagers. The experience of Strasbourg and other French cities shows a darker side of the drive towards closer European integration, tensions which could get worse under a single currency. Nick Valentine, ITN.
The organisers of this summer's World Cup in France are under increasing pressure to allocate more tickets to British fans. As the rules stand, England and Scotland look like getting as few as 4,000 each for each of their games. With France so close by, there are fears of crowd trouble, with thousands more fans going anyway and buying tickets on the black market. This from our Europe correspondent, Bill Neely.
It hasn't happened yet and you haven't been there, but you can buy the T-shirt. The 1998 World Cup is still 5 months away, but in the host capital Paris, the tournament is selling fast. You can buy anything to do with it, even a commemorative wooden ball for £500. What you can't buy so easily is a ticket, and that's where the problems begin.
We can only actually sell the tickets to members of the England Members Club.
The English Football Association is worried. Its members club has 30,000 registered fans and most want tickets. The FA says the way the French are selling them is a recipe for disaster.
Even if all 30,000 members don't want to go to France, and I suspect they won't all want to go, but a substantial number will, it could be that for some matches we'll only receive maybe 4,000 tickets, and I know that won't meet the genuine demands of the England members who want to go.
At the moment, the French rules say that 60% of the tickets are reserved for the French public. 20% will go to tour operators and corporate sponsors, leaving the final 20% for FIFA, football's governing body, to share out between the competing national states. The FA's head of security says that's not good enough, and he's in Paris to try to change it.
The problem comes when it's two top-class European teams, for example, with a tremendous following. Then you will have huge numbers, many of whom cannot be satisfied by the ticket allocation, and that is the problem that we've got to try to manage.
If it's not managed, this is the prospect. People with black market tickets in the wrong part of the ground next to opposing fans. This was Rome last October. The result then was trouble. In France this summer, the danger is the same, but the games are even closer. British fans haven't been this close to a World Cup in 32 years. So close, in fact, that at 9 o'clock in the morning, I can get on this train to France at London's Waterloo station. And 2 hours and 45 minutes later, it's not yet midday, I'm here at the stadium at Lens in northern France, where England will play Colombia in their final group game. For many fans, the temptation to make this short trip without a ticket
may prove just too great.
Travel and buy a ticket in France because they will be available for sure.
We're going, but we're going to get French tickets. There are ways of getting tickets.
I'll try and get a ticket through as though I'm a French person.
He might have trouble getting past this woman. She's France's head of security for the World Cup. She too is worried that tickets for England and Scotland fans will be scarce, but she's determined that that won't endanger the tournament.
There are people who'll come without tickets. If you come without a ticket to have fun, fine. If you come to make trouble, the police will be there and you will face the full force of the law. The promise from the French is that this will be the biggest and the best World Cup ever. The reality is that the rules now give England fans fewer tickets in smaller grounds than fans of Tunisia and Saudi Arabia. The FA hopes it can change that in Paris and stop France '98 becoming a tout's paradise and football's worst nightmare.
You're watching the morning news from ITN. It's 6 minutes to 6.